floored. I have like
This is where I started
words.
to cry. This is where I started to tear up emotionally. It was a lot for me.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Off to Broadway, the podcast where we deep dive into anything and everything musical theater from the comfort of my car. I'm Tara.
I'm Stefania.
And in today's episode, we're talking all about our most recent trip to Stratford. This was our first theatrical experience in a live setting of 2021. And it was like kind of emotional for us.
It was crazy. The thing that struck me most was when we were sitting there and everyone was applauding together. I was like, I haven't been in a group of people applauding for something in a year and a half, basically.
Yeah. We have also like let our thoughts formulate. We saw this exactly almost 1 week ago now. So we have really like thought about these shows. But before we talk about the two cabarets that we got to see, let's talk a bit about the like Stratford experience. If you have never been to Stratford, obviously this year, very different than most years. Everything is outdoors this year with the exception of one show, Three Tall Women, which is the first indoor show that Stratford is putting on for their 2021 season. So that's pretty exciting. But we went to see 2 of the 5 cabarets that they're offering this year in the festival theater tent. Now, a pro tip, I would say, if you are going to do a 2-show day like we did, go early and grab that free parking spot right outside of the festival theater.
Yes. It's listed on the website as free parking. There were quite a few spots, but we were going when there were only 100 people in each show. And it looks like at time of recording that quantity is going to be up soon. Mm-hmm. So it might be a little bit harder to get that free parking.
The experience, like walking through the walkway to get to that festival theater and like seeing all of those volunteers again was just like exciting. I felt so happy for them that they could be back to do something that they love to do. And I feel like safety wise, like I felt so comfortable there. They do like ask you the, COVID protocol questions before you walk in. They made sure to tell us that everything was more than 6 feet spread out. So if we did want to take off our masks inside of the tent, like we were more than welcome to. So I think Stratford is like doing a really great job with their COVID protocols, and it was really nice to see.
Yeah, I felt very comfortable the entire day. The way it worked, we went so early in the season, so it was only 100 people in each tent, and you bought a little block of tickets, and you had to buy your entire block of tickets. And so when we got there, we had 2 seats together, and then all around us was tons and tons of space between the next person. And when you were moving around, and all the volunteers and ushers were wearing masks, but once you were in your seat, they said, up to you, but you can take your mask off. Because some people were drinking in their seats or eating in their seats. But I didn't feel that we were too close to anyone at any point.
No. Also, we did wear our masks for the first show because it was freezing, I would say.
So true. That's the danger of this outdoor theater. It was under a tent, and it didn't rain while we were there, though there were other shows where it did rain.
It rained on the drive up, the whole drive up.
Yes, it did rain on the drive up. But once we got there, no rain. We sat there, but it started at 11 a.m. The sun wasn't fully out yet, so we're just under a blanket, huddled. Yeah. Because we were freezing. But then the day ended up being a gorgeous day.
Stunning. It was like such a hot day. The night show was like so great. The weather was amazing. But I will say specifically, if you do go to those 11 a.m. shows, beware because that tent kind of creates a wind tunnel. So you were just like being
It's colder
hit.
in the tent than outside of the tent sometimes.
Yeah. As soon as we walked outside, it was like, oh, okay. So it was just in there. But also a pro tip, which we are now taking with us for the rest of our lives, bring a seat cushion everybody. The people of Stratford are doing it right.
Yes, we were just sitting on the seats, just butt to the metal, like normal people, like plebes, I guess.
Yes.
And then we see people show up with seat cushions, and I'm like, I didn't even think of this. This is genius.
I know. It was genius. Actually, such a smart idea. But yeah, it was such a. I think something that we had talked about in the car on the way home was that, when theater does reopen fully again and there are indoor shows, I really hope a tent aspect can sort of stay. It brings like a different kind of element. And also, I'm not sure that Stratford would put on these cabaret type style shows in a regular season because there's like not space in the theater is booked up for the entire year. So
Right.
I would love to see some sort of like hybrid tent and indoor in a future season, because I think it offers like way more, obviously, seating and tickets for people to go to shows, and you get a different variety of what you can see.
68 years ago when the Stratford Festival started, this is a little history lesson. It's not
Yes.
really, but 68 years ago when the Stratford Festival started, it was in tents. That's where they performed Shakespeare, in tents. And then it felt kind of emotional to be back in the Stratford Festival and for the circumstances of the world to make it so they had to perform in tents again. Obviously quite a different tent than they were originally in, but I do like love that it's getting back to the roots of the festival of performing in a tent. And I think it would be fantastic. You have your in a normal year when we can go do everything as usual, the regular shows in the theaters, but maybe you can do some more creative things, maybe some cabaret, some one night only things in a tent, and have it be an extra part of the festival, create kind of these one night only experiences to bring people back. This is my tip for Stratford, this is
Yeah.
Call us.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree. We, as we said, saw 2 of the 5 cabarets. When this episode is released, there are only 2 cabarets left that you can buy tickets to see, which is Freedom and Finally There's the Sun. And there are a handful of Shakespeare's that are on. They are in a different tent. It's outside of the new Tom Patterson Theater. So check out Stratford's website for that. And before we talk about the shows, just a bit of the ticket process, something that we found, this was like something we really wanted to do. It was like our first chance at getting back to see live performance. So I stalked the Stratford website for a good 7 days. And unfortunately, I think that's something that you have to do. Again, we don't know about capacity increasing. Obviously, tickets could become more available as it goes on. But I, like every chance that I got during the day, would like refresh the website to see if I could find some tickets. You can put yourself on a wait list. Steph got called for actually all of the performances that we put ourselves on the wait list for. So it is a bit of like an experience in buying tickets, but I don't think that you should let the like difficulties of that deter you from going to a show.
No, we're not members of Stratford,
No.
so we had to wait for general sale to go on. But by the time general sale had gone on, most of the tickets had been taken out by members, which is fair. But that meant we had to do some legwork. So I put myself on the wait list for 5 shows that weekend. And then Tara every day checking. And so I was called for one on the wait list. So we bought that. And then you found something on a different day. So we're both kind of on the phone. I think I was on the phone with Stratford 5 times that week. Yeah. Just be like, hey, me again.
And the best one, us eating lunch, they called us right as we were in Stratford.
They did. We have tickets for tomorrow. And it's like, oh, we got tickets for tonight. So they're like, oh, enjoy your day. Thanks.
Yes. So it is a bit of a process. Just keep that in mind. But also, it might not be a process as more tickets become available. So you'll just have to wait and see for that. Okay, let's talk about the 2 cabarets that we saw. Now, right off the bat, we will say, unfortunately, you cannot buy tickets for these, but both performances were filmed and they will be released on Stratford's digital platform in the fall. So check up on our social media and Stratford's social media for that. We will for sure let everybody know when those are available to watch. As well, there are so many titles on Stratford's digital platform. So Stratfest at Home is what it's called. Many Shakespeare's, a bunch of the like cabarets that we actually watched like on YouTube last year that were only available for 24 hours, all there to stream. There's lots of good stuff on there. And I think it's $10 a month. Don't quote me on that, but it's fairly inexpensive to get a lot of titles. So jumping into the first show that we saw at the Stratford Festival this year, which was titled You Can't Stop the Beat at 11 a.m. Steph, I guess we should just like talk about our overall thoughts first before we like deep dive into what each of these cabarets entailed.
So You Can't Stop the Beat, we actually saw it before it opened. I believe it opened the next day. So we saw it, still a preview. I believe the person who's curating it was like a few rows behind us taking notes. So it was like a work in progress still. I think this cabaret, the goal of it was to show like how great musicals are, the love of musicals. And I also love musicals. So I was on board with the theme of the show. There were some really like great performances of some songs. And I think it was just, a fun a fun mix up of a bunch of songs.
I agree. I think it was I agree exactly what you said, a fun mix-up of all of these songs. I think it really played to the Stratford audience of some of the song choices that they chose. However, a couple questionable ones, which we will get into
let's
a little
discuss.
later. But overall, it was kind of like a history of the theater through the years. They did, unlike the second show, which we will speak on later in this episode, there were more like speaking passages, kind of like monologue moments from the actors that were in it, just like talking about the different time periods, why like this composer was important at this time and this composer was important at this time, and just like kind of took us through the years of musical theater.
Yeah, they were talking about different components of theater or different reasons for songs, and it was like they were playing themselves up there. So they were little sketches introducing each song about, you know, things that they liked to sing, things they didn't like to sing, things that were difficult, you know, divas, Sondheim, I don't know, love songs, just like different themes.
You Can't Stop the Beat was curated by Tom Allison, as Steph said. He was sitting in the back taking some notes during that preview performance. And then the performance had 4 different people in it. We had Alana Hibbert, Gabrielle Jones, Evangelia Cambites, and Mark Urey. I'm not familiar with any of these people, but they do have like Stratford credits. Actually, I think we saw Evangelina in Little Shop and Billy Elliot.
Yeah, she was in, Evangelia was in Little Shop and Billy Elliot that previous year. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't think we've seen any of the other ones in anything before. They all had beautiful voices, really great voices.
Yeah. So I think for us, something that seemed a bit confusing to us was the song choices. Some of them I understood, and some of them I feel like the flow just didn't quite work for what the storyline they were trying to tell was, if that makes sense.
I felt the theme of look how great musicals are was very broad.
Yes.
It's hard to, it's like, we're going to sing great songs for musicals. Well, there's hundreds, maybe thousands of great songs for musicals, and you're going to pick, let's say, 25. You know, anytime you thought they were going to go one direction, they would go in a different direction. So it was hard not to feel, oh, why didn't you choose this? Or be disappointed by one thing. And of course, you can't please every single person, but by making it so broad, everyone has their own idea of what should be in this show.
Yeah.
And then when they went in a different direction, or when they took a really long time on one thing, or when they did a weird smash cut from one thing to a completely different contemporary musical that I don't think anyone has thought of since it won Best Musical.
We're talking about A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder.
I'm talking about A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. I was like, this is the most random song choice. We'll talk more about that. But it kind of was like a little bit jarring, the path that the show took.
Something that I did love about this is right out of the gate, we got an overture, which is something that I have missed so much in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
Wow, why am I like getting emotional talking about an overture? And that's like what they said. So the band played a bit of an overture of like all of the different songs that they were going to be singing. And then the 4 of them came out to be like, a live band, everybody. And also an overture, like we've missed the overture. I honestly like, this feels like very theater nerdy to say, but like the overture sometimes is one of the most fantastic parts of a musical, and to get to hear like a big grandiose overture again, even in an outside theater tent, like it was everything to me.
They mashed up, I couldn't even recognize some of the songs. There was like some gypsy in there. There was a bunch of different things that some stuff we didn't even hear later in the show, but just snippets of great musical theater overtures and great musical theater songs. And it was fantastic. And then they went right into Something's Coming, which was also amazing.
Mm-hmm. Another moment that I really loved in this performance was the mashup of Before the Parade Passes By and Don't Rain on My Parade. It was such a smart lyrical mashup that really worked for this performance.
Yeah, I love that as well. That was a divas moment. That was sung by Gabrielle Jones, and she just like nailed that. That was right in her wheelhouse.
We're saying these names without any visual representation, but think of like Amalda Staunton, because that's all I could think of when she was singing. She is an older singer and like has a fantastic voice. I would like to see her in something, because I think that it would be interesting to actually see her like play on a stage, which is also like kind of interesting, I guess, in comparison again to the other show, is that they tried to have some like theatrical moments with a couple props, you know, just to like make it more fun.
Some choreo.
Yeah,
there was like an anything goes blow, Gabriel blow.
Yes, with like a
choreo,
trumpet moment
trumpet.
or something. Yeah, and then there was also some choreo for our finale of obviously You Can't Stop the Beat.
Yes,
there was like. It was honestly reminiscent of our camp choreography when we put on Hairspray.
Just the four of them in front of their chairs with their mics, the like music book stand in front of them, just doing simple choreography. But it was exciting. It added to the excitement to the performance of the show.
Yeah, definitely. Something that was very confusing to me was what was it, Steph? Like 7-minute Sweeney Todd number?
Yes, they did 7 minutes of the entire A Little Priest, which wonderful. They were talking about villains who you love.
I love villains.
You do. You love Sweeney Todd and Mrs. Lovett, but man, it went on for a really long time. And as someone who is only like passingly familiar with Sweeney Todd, it took me a lot into the song to figure out what musical they were singing from.
I thought they were singing Beauty and the Beast, because Gabrielle's Mrs. Lovett sounds a lot like a Mrs. Potts, and I was confused.
I, for a minute, thought it was Les Miserables. We're exposing ourselves to our like lack of Sweeney Todd knowledge.
It's our lack of Sondheim, but we had kind of a Sondheim like year like in podcast.
I've never seen Sweeney Todd. Okay, let me live.
No, we watched it for our Halloween episode.
You're right, but like, was I focused?
No.
No.
I mean, the fact that we both didn't recognize it, and I watched two versions of Sweeney Todd last year and still didn't recognize it.
Because it was a lot of like dialogue, right? It was that's a hard one to do in a cabaret setting, because you're asking the audience to like fall in with characters immediately who you haven't been getting to know. You know, It's like a full character dialogue interaction song. And I think without a lot of knowledge of Sweeney Todd, that one was hard to get into. And it went on for a really long time.
I mean, the other one that was hard to get into also in the villain song was that like deep cut Little Mermaid musical song. I Want the Good Times Back, Ursula sings. We were ready for a Poor Unfortunate Souls, and then got this, which I don't think anybody there knew what that song was.
When she pulled the bow around her, I was like, yes, Ursula, it's happening. And then,
well, also because the underscoring had a bit of Poor Unfortunate Souls in it.
Right. It's like the theme, the Ursula theme.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was a weird deep cut. I understand why they chose that, because, you know, they wanted to highlight like stage musicals versus movie musicals. But then also they did like Pure Imagination from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I was like, oh, that's just from the movie.
Yeah, that's not in the musical.
And I was like, oh, I don't like this choice either. So I don't know.
Although both of these performances sung beautifully. They just like, didn't quite work for me in the tone of the cabaret.
Yes. Also, okay, we've already kind of discussed it. I've Decided to Marry You. This is a fantastic song. Like, truly, the first time I ever saw it was at the Tony Awards.
That Tony performance. Watch
it. Amazing. Just the stagecraft of having them on either side of the door and having him like
Genius.
Between. So good. But when I'm thinking of great iconic moments from musicals, is this a song that I'm thinking of? Absolutely not.
I think we both said, like, I forgot this song existed, but then was it also stuck in my head for the rest of the day? 100%.
Yes, I Decided to Marry You. Yeah, just the accents. They sounded great, but it was just a weird choice.
However, again, like, I agree with you, sounded great, but without the stagecraft of that number, I don't think that song really works anywhere. You need the doors.
You kind of do need the doors.
There was, as you were saying, like a love medley, which was a lot of like Rodgers and Hammerstein music. And then we also got a Sondheim medley, which was like not exactly a Sondheim medley. It was mostly company. And then as we thought we were going to get, you know, the big Being Alive moment, Steph and I were like literally waiting for this moment. We swapped and went to Follies. And it was like, oh, we were almost there, guys.
Yes, they were like, Sondheim. This is close to the end. Sondheim. I'm like, wow, I'm excited. They're like, then it was like about marriage and relationships. Okay. The little things you do together. Great. Getting married today. Amazing. You could drive a person crazy. So good. Those harmonies were really good on You Could Drive a Person Crazy. Sounded amazing. And then I'm like, wow.
We're ready.
Being alive is about to happen. And then it was Could I Leave You? And it just felt like such a letdown in that moment. Like, not that that's also not a beautiful song about a relationship, but I felt we had been building to Being Alive. And I feel like it was a specific choice in this cabaret to veer off and go with the unexpected choice very often, because they did that many times. This is the things we've been complaining about. So I do think the things that we maybe thought were questionable were specific choices.
For sure.
But yeah, it just kind of like let you down a little bit as a viewer, kind of.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we just really wanted to hear Being Alive, like, gonna be honest about that.
Sometimes you need the payoff. Sometimes when you build so much up to something, you need that payoff. And you can't expect the audience to be just as happy. It has to really be amazing for the audience to be just as happy as something different.
Yeah, I will also say that while we were sitting there and they were like, Sondheim, I looked at you as like, passion? Like, are we gonna get it?
That's a song about love, okay?
Yes. Where was Fosca in this performance?
Where was Fosca?
But yeah, overall, again, like, we had such a great time at this, to be outside with an audience, hear the applause. Like, I'll never forget, like, that was our first Stratford experience. And then obviously we had like a casual 6 hours to kill before our next performance. So we walked around Stratford. What we did hear was a sneak peek at Why We Tell This Story's second show, when Steph walks by as we're like walking through and she's like, Aida? Like, are we getting Aida? We got Aida. So
Aida.
We have to talk about, honestly, we will say the reason that we wanted to go to Stratford was to see this cabaret. It features some of our faves. I will let
past guest of the podcast, Vanessa Sears.
Past guest of the podcast, who killed it. We will talk about Vanessa in a little bit. But like, I think we should start the like Tara obsesses over Robert Marcus tally now. So just like keep it in your mind, because Robert Marcus, I love you. Like, I can't.
He's got one of the best voices.
Like,
ever.
Yeah, truly. So the second cabaret that we saw was Why We Tell the Story, which was a celebration of Black music theater. It was curated by Marcus Nance, who also performed in this cabaret. Can we just talk about They Live in You?
They Live in You.
I have seen The Lion King. I've said this on many episodes. I have never heard that song sung like that. When it was the second song, they started off, obviously, Why We Tell the Story, Once on This Island, so we knew that it was coming. They opened with like a bit of a monologue and then got into The Human Heart, which was sung so beautifully. Like, that song can make you cry at any moment.
The four of them, their harmonies were so polished. It was like just one person opening their mouth. It was gorgeous.
I will say, I did do a little bit of like a deep dive on Marcus Nance's Instagram. This is not a new cabaret. Seems like they've performed some of these songs in 2019, 2018. So the four of them, I don't know if all four of them are always there together. The fourth person in this cabaret was Nima Bickersteth. Beautiful voice, like opera-esque voice.
Like a soprano, yes. Operas.
Yeah. So she got us like right out of the gate there with The Human Heart. And then I like saw on the piano sheet music that They Live in You was coming. I was like, okay, Lion King. And then Marcus Nance opened his mouth to sing. Floored. I have like,
this is where I started to cry. This is where I started to tear up emotionally. It was a lot for me to hear that. I don't know why. I was just like, this song, and his voice was so rich. And then with the other three of them singing backup, the African, like that song in general, I think anything from The Lion King, so powerful. You have to shout out Lee Boehm, who wrote a lot of this music. But wow, the best version of that song I've ever heard.
Exactly. Like, Marcus Nance needs to bring that, like, he needs to be on Broadway with that song, with that voice. Like, I couldn't
I want
believe.
A recording.
I know. I, like, can't wait for this to be online so everyone gets to experience that moment. He is, like, the most beautiful of baritone voices out there. And when he was hitting those low notes, I could talk about this for the rest of my life. Like, it was so phenomenal. And I think that having that as like your song too really set us up for how incredible the rest of this show was. It was also a musical directed by Franklin Braz, who is married to Marcus Nance. So obviously, like, they really thought through this musical curation project.
He is also the director of music for the Stratford Music Festival. So for years and years and years. So he knows this festival. He knows this music. It was like quite special to get to have him, you know, playing the piano there, being the director of music there. And it was really fun to see them perform together.
Yeah, it was also like so interesting for us because, as we said, had like 6 hours to kill. So we walked into like the theater store attached to the Avon Theater, and there's Marcus Nance's CD like right there for purchase. So
we might need to buy it.
I honestly think we do. Like, this voice, this is a person we've never seen perform before, and now I need to see everything that he's ever in going forward.
He has an up close and musical there as well. He was he was in Little Shop last year. You know, he's a Stratford vet as well.
Yeah. Some highlights. I mean, like, honestly, this entire show for me was a highlight. I really I have no critiques, Marcus Nance, for your curation of this show.
Let's just go through it. So basically they had sections of the show, and they would open each section with a reading either by like Langston Hughes. There was like a Maya Angelou, I think, at one point, and they would read those out, and then someone else would sing a song that kind of related to that story moment. Let's go kind of in order of your highlights. Let's also talk about Marcus Nance singing Big Black Man from the Full Monty, because the contrast.
Yes. And also with the backup of Robert Marcus.
Yes.
It was everything. I also want to point out, obviously, Robert Marcus was the only white man in this cabaret, and I think that they did a fantastic job of sitting him out at appropriate times. He was not there to sing the songs about hardship and everything that the Black community has gone through, because that's not his place to do that. So when he did sing, it was like he was there to sing the songs that obviously like were more of about like family or love or whatever it might be, but no time did it ever feel like he was taking away someone else's performance.
Right. The first song that he got to solo on was Change Don't Come Easy from Memphis, which is white people singing it. I also do want to mention something interesting. You know, this was a cabaret about the Black experience in musical theater, and yet when you looked around at the audience, completely white, I would say.
Yes. But I also think...
Including us.
White. That is also, unfortunately, the Stratford audience, the people that live in Stratford. So I do think that having cabarets like this, and I honestly hope that they continue to do stuff like this in the future, lets other people hear songs that they might have never heard before and learn something. Like, I feel like some of these songs like really taught you something if you cared to pay attention to some of the lyrics. So I do hope that stuff like this continues on in the future. But yes, that performance by both Robert Marcus and Marcus Nance of
funny.
Big Black Man was fantastic. And yes, 100% tonally, like two crazy
he just
different
did,
songs.
Like, They Live in You, and then he's like Big Black Man with one song in between, and you're just like, versatility. Acting.
The versatility, 100%. Okay, everyone, as I said, the obsession of Robert Marcus is real. I actually want to put on the record here, this is a conversation that Steph and I have had in the car multiple times. Like, I'm sorry, Robert Marcus, that we didn't learn about you until the Toronto production of Dear Evan Hansen, because I feel like ripped off that I never saw Tommy, and then I never saw Rocky Horror Picture Show. I just like need to put that out there.
There are that YouTube video of him singing Rocky Horror. Unmatched. Truly unmatched.
The versatility in this
That is versatility.
Is insane. Also, like, we talked about him quite a bit actually on our Dear Evan Hansen episode, obviously, because we did get to see him. He is one of the like cleanest singers I've ever heard, and I think he has a fantastic voice. I feel so terrible that Dear Evan Hansen in Toronto did not pan out the way that everyone thought that it would, because he did not sign on for Stratford Seasons that year because it was a huge Mervish production.
Yeah.
Also, we were supposed to see him, which hopefully, Here's What It Takes still happens in the future. He was going to be in that and possibly Chicago, I believe. But like, now that we know what we know, we're following his career everywhere.
I'll never miss another thing he ever does.
No. So Robert, if you ever hear this, we're sorry that we ever missed any of your performances, and we cannot wait to see everything else that you do in the future.
His Up Close and Musical is the one.
Okay, wait. I think we actually need to this is where the obsession basically began. Again, Dear Evan Hansen, fantastic. We watched this up close and personal on Stratford's website.
Up Close and Musical.
Up Close the Musical. On YouTube for 24 hours was available. It is now on Stratford's website. If you are going to buy one thing on that website, please buy this performance. It is worth every penny.
Okay, here's the strategy. You wait till September when all of these are released. Then you
watch everything.
And then you also subscribe and you also watch Up Close and Musical.
100%. We're just watching this. I was watching this first. As I feel like this is how it normally is. I watch something, I text you, I'm like, turn this on right now. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. So I'm watching this performance. Everything is going great. He sounds phenomenal. He comes out to sing poetry. Britta Johnson from
past guest of the podcast.
Life After. I was like, Steph, he's singing poetry. Turn this on now. Then he sings The Joke by Brandi Carlile. Steph, what are your words? I have none.
There are no words. His voice is absolutely just so clear, so pure. I know The Joke by Brandi Carlile, great song. And then we'd also heard Ben Platt sing it at his concert.
Great rendition.
So, it is a song where you can just let your voice soar. And Robert Marcus did that. He did that and more. It's so emotional. Just the little riffs on the words.
This is the thing. He's such a clean singer, but he strategically puts riffs at the right moments. But they're still such clean riffs. I don't know what he's doing with his voice, but keep doing it because it's everything. And when he did these strategic clean riffs was in his performance of Mama Will Provide from Once on This Island. The high notes this man hit, crazy.
It's crazy because you'd think this is maybe the opposite of who should be singing this song.
Yeah.
And yet you are not even mad about it because the vocal chops are there.
100%. Also, they were having a fantastic time with him. Everyone was playing along to the vocal choices that he was doing. Everyone seemed to just be honestly a Saturday night where it's at. They give such great performances. I'm sure they give great performances every day, but there's something about a Saturday night performance that you'll never experience.
With the outside with the sun setting behind it.
It was stunning.
Amazing.
It was
golden
stunning.
hour during the show. So good.
Another standout for me, Robert Marcus performance, which I don't think I've heard this song sung in a cabaret maybe ever, was Family from Dreamgirls. I love that song so much. And to hear again him lead vocals on that, but the 3-part harmonies happening behind him, someone was doing whatever they were doing in this curation musical rehearsal process. I wish I was there to hear the magic being made.
Something I really loved about this one, which was in contrast to the morning one, there was a lot of setup to every song, whereas this one, it was just song,
yes.
You get the point, okay?
Yes.
You understand what we're doing here. You don't need to be handheld through what's happening. We're just going to sing for 90 minutes for you.
Okay, Steph, I think you need to talk about Aida, so...
God, okay. Look, I feel like Aida just doesn't get the credit it deserves. And when Robert Marcus and Vanessa Sears started singing Elaborate Lives, the original cast, Adam Pascal, Heather Headley.
Iconic.
No one better. And then they're just, it's unbelievable to me. They just sounded so beautiful. I love that song. I love Aida. Revive Aida. Do a Stratford production of Aida. I don't know. What petition can we start? It sounded so good. What a love song. It should be performed more.
100%. And then we went into Helpless from Hamilton, which if there was I'm not going to say dud because dud is a bad word, but if there was a moment of the show that we might not have needed, I think it's Helpless.
Yes.
But after Helpless, we get I Got Love from Pearly, which obviously we know from Smash. Vanessa Sears, everybody.
Amazing.
She hits these crazy high notes in this song, and this was after she had just sang Elaborate Lives, then Helpless, and then this, and then
she was Angelica and Helpless. She was
Yes.
our Angelica.
And it was just like, Vanessa, I can't believe you're hitting these notes. Obviously, we heard her sing when we saw her in Caroline or Change, which was like one of the last shows that we saw before the shutdown. And then her Up Close and Musical, also very good. But I feel like her voice in the last couple years is like astronomically good.
She always sounds amazing, but she has, to me, never sounded better than she did
Totally.
during this cabaret. And let's like jump forward a little bit. The kind of finale before the actual finale was Vanessa singing I'm Here from The Color Purple.
So we knew in advance that this song was on the set list, and we knew that this was the one song that was going to make us both cry.
Yeah, we listen to I'm Here a lot just together.
Yeah, we do.
We just love it.
Shout out to Ryan Bloomquist for maybe the greatest video to ever live online, which is Cynthia Erivo singing I'm Here, interspliced into when Jennifer Hudson singing at the Lincoln Center, I believe.
At the Kennedy Center Honors.
Kennedy Center Honors with Oprah and obviously Stedman. Shocked by her performance, but it was spliced together with Cynthia Erivo. I will put in the description for our YouTube viewers, like it's required viewing. Honestly, Steph and I always we mimic it over FaceTime. Like it's an important moment in our lives. So obviously when we found out that I'm Here was in the set list, already beside myself. Then hearing this performance, damn, Vanessa.
She's had an amazing. It's hard because, you know, the version I have that I listen to is like LaShawne's or Cynthia Erivo, two like legends of theater.
This is also after we spent like 20 minutes of our Jimmy's episode saying to never sing this song. Like
it's hard. It's a hard song. I know we've talked a lot about I'm Here recently. It's a hard song, and it does take maturity to be able to sing. And I really think Vanessa just nailed it. She really nailed it. And then
obviously, after the show ended, we got in the car, and I've never sung I'm Here the way that we did.
Twice in a row.
That night. Just us like casually leaving Stratford, you know, it's probably like so quiet. I'm sure everybody heard us driving by.
Yeah,
like,
screaming.
We were screaming.
I never think about that.
It is just such a fantastic song in general, and to hear it sung the way that you picture it to be sung, it just like means that much more to you. I like could listen to Vanessa's version of that every day. I hope that we get, can I put a petition out here to get like a cast recording of this? Because I think I need it.
It would be great.
Just of the whole show. Like actually all of the Stratford cabarets, like let's get a cast recording going.
They could. That would be amazing. Can we jump back a little bit? Nima Bickersteth, very early in the show, sang Summertime, and that just sat in the perfect spot in her voice. And, you know, if we're talking about Black artists in music theater, you can't go without Summertime, and that was just like a perfect performance of that song too.
Also, Marcus Nance singing Old Man River, which I know is on his album that they were selling at that Stratford store, so obviously a song that he's performed many times. That was another like, wow, this voice, this rich tone, like I can't believe. And also again, like there was more, I think. Something that stuck out to me, which didn't stick out to me in the morning, the chemistry between this foursome was amazing, and it's something that the foursome in the morning like did not have. All of these people seem to like genuinely be friends with each other. I know Marcus and Vanessa have like Robert Marcus and Vanessa have worked on like many shows together, so there is a friendship there. But watching these performers cheer each other on after all of the songs was really special and something that you don't get to see very often.
There was great chemistry. They were kind of, while someone else was singing, they were looking at each other, and then after someone would finish and the applause was happening, they would be kind of making eye contact, you know, speaking without speaking. It was really fun, especially because it's such an intimate setting. There were only 100 of us in the audience, and we were so close. I think we were in the second row. So it really felt like a very intimate experience between the audience and the performers.
And then obviously we closed out the show with the title song of the cabaret, which is why we tell the story, from Once on This Island. Such a fun song. They really had a great time closing this off. And as soon as it ended, I was like, I want to come back tomorrow. Like, I want to see the show again.
Would see it again. You know who the like low-key MVPs were of this? Aarons and Flaherty. Who,
I know.
because, you know, they obviously wrote Once on This Island, and they performed 3 songs from that. But then Wheels of a Dream from Ragtime, also an Aarons and Flaherty show. The secret MVPs, Why We Tell the Story.
I know, crazy. Yeah,
After I complained about them a few weeks ago for writing the worst musical, Rocky. But what are you gonna do?
That's a duo that like we have to deep dive into because their list of musicals, bizarre, like truly
wide ranging. Don't even talk about Zeusical.
Anastasia, like it's so all over the place. It's like kind of crazy, the list of musicals that these two have written. Yeah. But yeah, I really think that being able to see that cabaret at night before we like jumped in the car to head home was like the perfect ending to our day in Stratford. I have like not felt that musical theater joy in almost 2 years, and to be that impressed by the performers. Again, this is also saying that like these people have not sung on a regular basis for almost like 2 years now. Healthy voices, everybody. Like these voices are at their best, and it was fantastic.
So good. They sounded so good
in both shows. Everyone was like really peak performance for their voices. It was like truly, honestly, like an honor to watch and to hear these people get to perform the way that they did for some of these audiences. And like these shows didn't run for that long, so we're one of very few that got to like sit in and watch a live performance in Stratford. And it just made me so excited for like what theater is gonna be at Stratford in the future. And again, like I really hope that they find a way to keep some of these cabarets, whether they do these like digital performances, because those amazing too. Like let's keep the cabarets going at Stratford because the talent is insane.
Yeah, I love this. I love that this is what Stratford decided to come back with. Obviously, you know, they're doing a bunch of Shakespeare's this year, which is their bread and butter, what they began with. But as they've entered into doing musicals and honoring musicals, these cabarets have been so much fun. So obviously our focus is always musicals, if you know us. So we'll talk a little bit about the other cabarets that they have. So Play On, actually co-curated by our fave Rob Marcus, is about songs and Shakespeare and how they kind of go together. And we were just taking a look. It'll be over by the time this episode comes out, but the set list looks really fun. Some Taylor Swift, some Lion King, of course, some Joni Mitchell, some Radiohead, just anything you can kind of think of that is Shakespearean but pop music is in there. So fantastic.
The next cabaret that is on at the time of release of this episode is Freedom, which is curated by Bo Dixon, who we briefly chatted about with Vanessa on her episode when she was on with us.
He was in Ghost Quartet, which we also loved.
Yes, and they did their Porchside concert together. Yes. So we know a bit about him, but this is also a spirit and legacy of Black music. There is no, at the time of recording, a set list out for this, so we don't know the songs that are in it, but the little like bio says jazz to rock and roll, R&B and rap. We owe much of musical history to Black culture, and it's time to give credit where it's due. So that sounds really great as well.
More like modern music versus like theater music.
Yeah. And then the final cabaret, which is Finally There's Sun. This is in September. This, I believe, is like the final cabaret to close out Stratford's season for musicals. This features Sarah Farb. This one is about, it's called the Cabaret of Resilience. So I, again, don't know what the actual set list is because this is not coming out until September, but Sarah Farb also co-curated this one, so yeah, it should be interesting. The cabarets seem like really fun. They did like I wonder if they all got together to be like, hey guys, these are the songs that we're thinking about, like don't use these because we're using them.
Can't overlap, like these are ours. These are ours first, and claim them.
Also, which we did not mention, all of these cabarets, 90 minutes, which is great. No intermission. Yeah, you just fantastic. Like, I don't know, the overall Stratford experience was like really, really great, and like a really great first experience into live theater in this world.
It was a wonderful day trip. Obviously, we had a ton of time between shows, so we had a picnic lunch that we packed. We went and hung out in the Shakespeare Gardens. We did some like window shopping.
We saw 2 weddings having their pictures being taken.
I love it. We walked along the river like 5 times.
Yep.
There's little gardens outside of the festival theater that we hung out in for a little bit. It's like a lovely day trip. So even if you just go see one thing, hang around for lunch or dinner after, there's something also exciting you can do. You can buy like a meal from a restaurant in Stratford, and you can get alcohol with it, and you can drink it in the park. There are designated areas where you can drink alcohol in the park as long as you've purchased it with a meal from a Stratford restaurant. That's a really fantastic thing that Stratford has started doing last year and this year to encourage people to spend time outside and support local businesses and restaurants.
And I think most importantly, if you can and have the means to, support the arts. They've had a really tough time in the last, almost 2 years now, and the arts sector has seemed to be like quite ignored by the Canadian government over the last little while. So with these performances, whether it is Stratford Musical Stage Company doing a lot of stuff right now, Shaw Fest in Niagara Falls, like just support the arts. There's some really, as we've said this entire episode, like fantastic talent out there, and go see a live show. It like really makes your day. Whether this was something that I loved about the first cabaret specifically was like the conversation of how much theater means to someone, and it's not just in the 2 hours that you're sitting there. It means something outside of that time as well, and bring that with you into your daily day. So yeah, that is our thoughts on these 2 cabarets as well as the entire Stratford festival that's going on right now. As we said, I believe all of the cabarets will be having film performances. We know for sure the 2 that we saw were filmed. So they will be on Stratford's website in the fall. So definitely check out for that.
You can subscribe to Stratfest at home to see all of these film performances and the previous performances that they have. There's a huge library, so it's definitely something I would recommend.
And with that being said, it is now time for our Obsession of the Week.
So my obsession this week is a song that I forced Tara to listen to many times on the drive home from Stratford. And it's a little song called Famous Five Eva. So it's from the TV show Girls Five Eva.
Which, like, Steph has only seen the first 2 episodes, and I've fully watched the whole season.
The song Famous Five Eva is amazing. So this show Girls Five Eva is a Tina Fey produced TV show about a girl group called Girls Five Eva, who is reuniting after like 20 years apart. And because it's Tina Fey, it's Jeff Richmond, it's Sarah Bareilles, Busy Phillips, Paula Pell, Renee Lee Goldsberry, Daniel Breaker is in it. You get Erica Henningsen, Ashley Park, just like great theater. Andrew Rannells, sorry, I'm just thinking. Will Chase, my favorite Bowen Yang, who's like not a musical theater guy, which I just love him.
Yeah.
Just you get all of them there. It is like clearly, I think, influenced by Tina and Jeff's time working on Mean Girls. I don't think you would get this show without their work on Mean Girls and without their involvement in the theater community. And I just think comedy music writing is very difficult to do. And I think the song, specifically Girls Five Eva, really captured what pop music was like in the early 2000s while also being hilarious. It is a parody, but also amazing. So the song Girls Five Eva, I want to be famous Five Eva because that's more than forever. Like, it's so good.
I wasn't aware that there was a full song. I thought it's obviously the theme song of the show.
Yeah.
So
there's an album.
Yes, there's an EP out of all of the songs in the show. I only thought that song was the length of the theme song, and then was truly shocked when there was many, many verses to that
We watched
song.
the music video.
Yes. I just also want to say Renee Elise Goldsberry did that.
A comedy
Cast her
legend.
In everything.
Like a comedy legend. Why is she so funny? Why is she so funny?
As someone that has seen the entire season of this show,
unlike me,
I am indifferent to it. I think it got better as it went on. But Renee, I will watch you in any comedy performance that you do forever, because like she is the star of this show. Rightfully
and also
so.
Looks amazing.
Oh my God. She is.
Some of them are playing themselves in their 20s as like the original Girls Five Eva in the flashbacks and in the modern day. And like Sarah, I'm like, okay, but Renee plays like 20 and 50 or 40 equally as compellingly.
Yes.
Looks amazing.
She's amazing. It did get renewed for season 2, so that's exciting for them.
I will one day finish the season, but for now I'll just be blasting girls famous five ever. I will just be blasting Famous Five Ever in every car ride. And when I see you tonight, Tara, we will be playing Famous Five Ever.
Girls Five Ever.
Together, because that's one more than together.
This is actually, like, we were discussing this right before we jumped on here. I really think that, like, Mean Girls should have went more comedy parody writing on the musical, and I feel like I would have enjoyed it more. But then I also am, as I said, like, indifferent to this TV show, so unknown my thoughts on it in general. But
the songs
it's a
are
fun
legendary.
song.
Dream Girlfriend, also really funny. Like, just the lyrics. Their lyrics are so funny.
The EP is available to stream.
Yes, shout out to Jeff Richman and Meredith Scardino for writing these music and lyrics.
My obsession is like completely in the opposite direction of this comedy. So I, from time to time, like to go onto Playbill's website and look up in their cast recording section to see like what is being released, because they have like an entire list of the full year. So last year in November, a concept album was released for an Anne of Green Gables musical. Steph, it's great. It's like a pop rock version of Anne of Green Gables. I believe that there was a performance of it in like 2016, I want to say. It's Godspeed Productions. There is a performance date for 2022, so they are trying to get this musical on its feet. But the cast recording features Colin Donnell, Patty Murin, Chris McCarroll, who like haven't heard his voice on a cast recording in forever, and then randomly, but also like legendarily, Diana DeGarmo from American Idol.
You know what? I remember her on season 3 of American Idol.
She has a great voice.
Yes, she does a lot of theater too. She's married to, this is probably over by now, but at time of recording, her and her husband, also another American Idol contestant, Ace Young, are doing First Date virtually.
Oh, yes. With Mr. Cara Lindsay, Kevin Massey, wow, a Gentleman's Guide throwback in that.
Wow, speaking of Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder.
Yes.
Also, speaking of Memphis, because I feel like he was in the ensemble of that.
I agree.
We fully saw him do Gentleman's Guide here in Toronto.
Yes. And you know what? He was great. Like,
correctly cast.
He was very good in that show. But yeah, so this Anne of Green Gables is like, I don't know, sometimes when you think like Anne of Green Gables, you think it's going to be like a folksy, not like really fun cast recording. Like this EP, really, really good. And specifically the last 4 songs, really, really good. So I have chosen for my obsession this week the song I Want to Know, sung by Chris McCarroll. Guys, he has a stunning voice, and I wish that he did more theater, because obviously like he was Marius, and then The Lightning Thief like really failed him, and I hope that he
got to tour that for a long time. Okay?
I know,
he got to
but
be
like
Percy Jackson for a long time.
The Broadway, I mean, it was only a limited run, so they didn't get canceled. No. But I do hope that he has a chance to like come back and be on stage, because he really has like a stunning voice. He's obviously playing Gilbert in Anne of Green Gables. I did read some like Broadway World boards, and I feel like, Steph, you would like this because I know that you love Anne with an E. And someone said that like listening to this cast recording like made them want to rewatch Anne with an E. So I was like, okay,
always ready to rewatch Anne with an E. You should watch Anne with an E. When Anne and Gilbert do their like period dancing, the sexual tension between the 14-year-olds was too much.
A CBC like original but also like really great CBC show. I feel like that was like a big success story out of Canada. Anne with an E on Netflix.
Anne with an E, fantastic, like really, really good adaptation of that.
So yeah, I'm like now kind of interested to see the rest of the life of this Anne of Green Gables musical. It is written by Matt O'Brien and Matt Vinson. They did the music and lyrics for this. I'm not familiar with their work, but as I said, there is a production slated for 2022, so hopefully there'll be like some production pictures from that. But my obsession this week, sung by Chris McCarroll, is I Want to Know. It's a beautiful, beautiful song. And yeah, that wraps up our episode on the Stratford Festival. As we said throughout the episode, stay tuned on our social media for when these performances are on Stratford's website for you to stream. And you can follow us at Off to Be Way Podcast. That's with the number 2.
And you can subscribe to us here on YouTube, or you can subscribe anywhere podcasts are found. And we would love it if you would leave a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts. And let us know if you get it to Stratford Festival this summer. We want to know how it was.
Yes, for sure. And we will see you guys next time.
Bye.